Evening, Scott.
Mike, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I saw your pictures out and about having fun at the 5K race.
Yeah, that was actually my probably pretty much my last race of the year to volunteer for. And that's one thing about these races. I don't have to participate. I just sit there on the side, cheer them on, give them their T-shirts, whatever, whatever duties I'm assigned to. But normally the ones that I participate in, I sign up to do what they call packet pickup. And in the packet pickup, there's two jobs. One, you sit in the front at the table and you meet the people and greet them and you register them in. And the second job is to be the guy behind them that when they say large men's T-shirt, you get them the shirt. That's me. I like the guy to be in the back. Very little responsibility, that kind of thing. I did get hauled into a little bit of responsibility on the Cooper River Bridge run. Apparently what they do is Bridge Run was apparently smaller this year. Normally about 40,000 people, only about 25,000 signed up this year. Maybe 20,000 showed. But on the Mount Pleasant side of the bridge, they will collect up people's personal belongings, throw them in like a clear kind of bag and stick a label on the outside with their name or something like that. And they load them in the back of a couple of box trucks, and then they start the race. And then they try and send the box trucks over across to the other side where we are. And what ends up happening, I've never been down there for this before. But anyway, I volunteered to do it. And then I get called by the staff and said, hey, the guy who runs lead volunteer down there isn't available. Could you play lead volunteer? And I'm like, sure, I'll give it a try, but don't expect a whole lot. I'm not big on responsibility. And what ends up happening, though, is some of these runners run a 10K faster than the truck can get across the bridge and bring their stuff over.
Really?
So now you've got these runners at the end of the race waiting to get their stuff so they can jump on the shuttle bus to ride back, or who knows, some of them probably run back. Some of these people are really maniacal with their running. But luckily, we're controlled it pretty good this year. I was told last year when the trucks were kind of late, and by the time the trucks got there, runners were actually jumping up onto the back of the trucks, trying to get into the truck to find their stuff. It's like, whoa, 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 hold it, folks. Let us unload the stuff from the truck and lay it out, because they have it alphabetical. And even then, it's kind of it's like the blind leading the stupid. It really is. It's not too good. Or maybe it's me, the stupid, leading the blind. How that thing worked out. Yeah. But hey, we got it. Pretty much everybody got their stuff. I think we only took like one bag and one stray item to the lost and found. So hey, knock fake wood. We did our job. And this weekend, what I end up doing, like I say, hand out the T-shirts, and then, ooh, there were some good sponsors. They donated bagels and cream cheese and croissants, and then all this fresh fruit and stuff. And one of the places donated coffee. So there I am as a volunteer, drinking coffee, eating bagels with cream cheese. Oh, it's a tough job, tough job. And then basically I end up near the finish line, sitting on my chair, because I take a chair along with me sometimes, especially on things like this. And I'm on the race line, basically guiding people from one point to the other. And I'm sitting in a hole, put my chair there, going, don't fall in the hole, because there was like this hole in the middle of the racetrack.
Wow.
And yeah, I don't know who sets these tracks up sometimes, but the way they ran the cones, there was a muddy section here, and then where I was, so they had to sort of do like this little S-curve move to get around the mud on one side and around the hole on the other side, and then finally through the finish line. for the first time and the second time. And if they were the 10Kers, finally on the third time, they finished their race, or half marathoners, because it was like a 5K-ish track or something like that. Or somewhere, I don't know. They had two different tracks. But yeah, that was that fun. Oh, we got somebody else coming in here. Old man here thought it was a smart move to get my new glasses single focus instead of having the bifocal transition lenses type thing, because a lot of times I just take them off when I'm reading close. But there are times when I'm at the computer, or as I tell folks, when I'm driving, to see close at the dash and then to see far away, I almost have to take my glasses off to see the dash and the shift and stuff like that. Where are we time-wise, folks? We are at about 7:04. We have a couple of people still logging on, so we'll give it another minute or so. I know Shane, sometimes he's out in the less populated region and doesn't always get a good connection, so he sometimes pops in and out with us. And yeah, I think I'm going to try and drop these glasses off now. There we go. All righty. Last thing I need to do is kind of pull up my disclaimer here, if I can remember where it is. Oh, I had to rebuild my computer. Well, not rebuild, but kind of rebuild it from, or should I say my wife did, because she does a lot of that technical stuff for us, for me. And had to basically reinstall an operating system and then restore my entire system, because I got some kind of weird glitch that, like, every time I would visit a site in Google Chrome, it would tell me unsafe site. And when I would visit the back end of just our own website, it wasn't transferring in the analytics data and stuff like that. So something weird went with the security settings or something. And I searched and I searched and I searched all over, Google on how do you fix when this happens. And really the only way to do it is start from scratch, reinstall wipe the machine, reinstall the operating system. And that's the reason why I always have good backups. And you guys might laugh here. Let's see if I can show you this. Those 3 drives there, those are my external drives. One of those is my backup, which is like a 3 terabyte drive. And the others are really to store my data and my images and weird shit like that. Like a photographer, I used to store a lot of my photography on those kind of drives. But yeah, so it's real nice and easy. Restore from hard drive. All right. With that said, I have lost the document that I usually open up at this time during our chat. So I'm going to go back and see if I can find it here in my drive. Docs, meetings. There we go. Meeting reports. And I usually go right about April 2018. There we go. That's one I always use for some reason. All right, folks. Sorry for the delayed start. We are at 7:06. My name is Scott Weldon, and I am the Executive Director of the South Carolina chapter of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, otherwise known as NORML. All of our meetings are an environment of education and awareness and are not an open market for the sale, purchase, or distribution of cannabis, and we do not encourage or condone illegal behavior of any kind. All righty, folks, thank you very much for joining me. Welcome to everybody who's here on the Zoom call live. Welcome to anybody who may be viewing this live on our YouTube channel. Also, welcome to anybody who's viewing this as a recording on YouTube later. Mentioning YouTube, I always like to point out that we are not monitoring the live stream from YouTube. So if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them down below in the comment section. We'll revisit the comment section in about 24 to 48 hours when YouTube is done processing the live for recording, blah, 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 and basically gives us access to that back end again. And at that point, we'll try and answer or address your questions, comments, and concerns. Again, this is our every Wednesday night South Carolina normal cannabis conversation. Tonight's topic, pretty much we are talking about municipal elections, which there are a bunch of them coming up on November 2nd of this year. We are just a couple of weeks away. And cannabis decriminalization. Let me let her back in. There we go. As many of you know, let me see if I have it laying here on my desk. One of the things that I have been pushing for the past couple of years is trying to decriminalize through the voter initiative ballot type option here in South Carolina. As many of you know that have been on here with me before, South Carolina does not have a state level ballot initiative option. So we only have the option of doing that at municipal level. So that's city, town, and or county. What we've done here in the Charleston area is I've tried to address first a small, what I'll say municipality, the city of Folly Beach. And what we need when we're doing a voter initiated referendum is we need the signatures of 15% of the registered voters in that community. Our challenge has been so far with Folly, for example, finding those registered voters that are residents during basically anything but the off season. Folly Beach swells from about a 3,000 resident population in off season to roughly 23,000 in season. And season seems to stretch a little bit more each year, but and even at that point, a lot of residents don't live on Folly. They'll lease their property for probably a little bit of a profit and move off island to maybe West Ashley or someplace a few miles inland, and then move back out in off season. So that's been one of our challenges, and we've even had the option, or we even had planned in it was February of 2020. We had organized with the students for sensible drug policy over at the College of Charleston, and we had talked to them about getting the students out there with our petitions to go out and try and collect signatures. And then the pandemic hit, and that sort of just dissolved. And the other challenge we've had with signature collection with the students is there tends to be a lot of breaks for different holidays and things. And I start planning things and I don't take into consideration, where the students are going to be with it. And so we've kind of rolled back and halted any of our signature collection. And with some discussion with folks in both Louisiana, which is just recently decriminalized statewide, and also Ohio, who is now at about 22 municipal level, no fine, no time decrim ordinances in different municipalities across their state. I'm starting to think that my better option here in Charleston area or in South Carolina is to try and address it directly with different city and town council members and see if they might be interested in sponsoring or didn't mean to open that my way here. Decrim ordinances here in South Carolina. As many of you know, it's a hot topic. We have a Democratic gubernatorial candidate, or who's actually two of them that I know of that are talking full legalization. Third one, last I talked to one of their representatives, they were still kind of flushing out their marijuana policy, but we do know that they have at least supported decriminalization in medical. So it is a hot topic. And what many people don't realize is for us, it's a hot topic at the municipal level. If we can start to, here's a good example. I know I'm going to say a year ago, and I don't know if that's really the accurate time frame, but a lawyer up in the Myrtle Beach area had, I guess, presented the idea to Myrtle Beach City Council in response to a request from one of his clients If I can remember the name, I believe his name is Julian Benton. Julian was arrested for marijuana dealing through a undercover, not an undercover, a confidential informant. They sent in to do by something, I forget what it was. Anyway, they went in and raided him, arrested him, shot him. He's been paralyzed now from the waist down, and through civil litigation has been awarded 11.5 million taxpayer dollars to make up for the actions of law enforcement. And so one of the other things in his award or in his winning of that case was that he also wanted to not see that happen to anybody else, and wanted to see a decriminalization ordinance in Myrtle Beach. To my knowledge, Attorney Johnny McCoy, his attorney, did present that option to Myrtle Beach City Council. And I believe the response was that they would take it under consideration. And that's the last I've ever heard of it. And I have not heard of any proposed decrim ordinance in Myrtle Beach since that point. So I'm assuming under advisement has been sort of tabled or something of that nature. I really believe that a town, a municipality in South Carolina decriminalizing would send a strong message to our state legislature that this is what 80 to 90% of the citizens of South Carolina want is either medical or decriminalization and or full adult access. The numbers vary on each of those little ones a little bit, but and a lot of people sometimes don't quite understand fully what decriminalization is. Why even take that step? Why put that out there? But as a good example, and I know I have it buried in my notes that aren't in front of me right now, there was at least four decrim bills here in South Carolina that were sponsored between the House and the Senate. And again, let me see if I can peek through this clipboard real quick. I might have it closer than I think. Senate, House. And one of them, H3228, which is a Henderson Myers sponsored House bill, had, last I looked, 30 co-sponsors. It's my understanding, though, that is a Democratic representative, and generally Democratic sponsored legislation, no matter how many co-sponsors it has, probably isn't getting voted on or voted out of committee. That's been my experience since I've been in South Carolina for about 5+ years now. But there are 4 decrim bills out there. One of them, Senate Bill S335, is by candidate Mia McLeod. And again, although her staff has told me she hasn't fully flushed out her marijuana policy, she has sponsored a decrim bill at the state level that has again gone nowhere. So I really believe that we need to start sort of maybe making that happen on a municipal level. It makes a lot of sense in the fact that, well, as a good example, here in Charleston, marijuana simple possession arrests have been down primarily because in December of 2019, the chief at the time, I believe Al Cannon, no, where's that? Sheriff Cannon. Never mind. I don't know who the chief was here in Charleston. They had a prison with 600 built with 600 beds with 1,800 prisoners in it, and they needed to reduce that number. And so they made a decision to de-emphasize simple marijuana possession arrest here in the city of Charleston, bringing that population of that prison down into a controllable level. And again, to me, it's harm reduction. Locking people up for simple marijuana possession just does not make sense. The harms of prohibition are greater than any harms that the plant could ever do to somebody. And I believe the number of simple possession arrests in last reported was 2020 for Charleston, city of 111. So the numbers aren't even that big anymore. Why not just do the right thing, move forward, do an ordinance that makes it a no fine, no time, no court cost, decrim ordinance. I have had some folks from, here's a good example, one of the representatives from MPP, Marijuana Policy Project, had said you may want to consider, and now Ohio, I haven't seen them doing this, but I believe Louisiana, she got this information more through Louisiana, I think. They did put in some language in their local ordinances of a couple of hours, a few hours of community service for minors that were caught with small amounts of marijuana. So instead of the no fine, no time, there was a community service of, I think it was 5 hours or something like that, if it was a teenager that happened to get caught with cannabis, because they wanted to do something to, appease the opponent or the opponents that say, oh, well, what about the kids? What about the kids? What are we going to do to, protect our children? So I've been sort of doing a good portion of the day and a little bit yesterday, sending out some emails, inviting some candidates to join us in the next week or two. I've gotten some responses back, some candidates that are saying I'm unavailable on that date next week, the 20th, but that they would be maybe available another date after. We do have the 27th, I believe, still is a date to discuss this before the November election dates. So that might be an option, is to have some guests in on that day too. Give me 1 second. I haven't been paying attention to chat here, and it looks like there's some stuff going on. Give me just a second here. Okay. I'm not exactly sure what all is about talking about starting another chapter. We as a 501c4 are able to sponsor and or support candidates, to endorse candidates. That was one of the, and most chapters are. When I first founded the Low Country chapter here before we converted to South Carolina chapter, we had apparently a different chapter director at the national level, and the directions weren't really clear. They were kind of like, oh, start a 501c3 or a 501c4 nonprofit and go have at it. Well, there's actually a big difference between a 501c3 and a 501c4 as far as your abilities to be politically active. And I started the process. If some of you have heard the story, I'm sorry to drag you through this again, but started the process for our normal chapter here in South Carolina as a 501c3. And I had done it, I think from your founding, you're allowed by the IRS 27 months. And I had been like, maybe it was 17 months. But anyway, I was sort of up against it at the time. And the IRS actually had scheduled a phone call with me one time because I'm like, no, man, we're not political. We're just sharing information. We're a 501c3. No, you're doing too much political action. And they're sending back like shared post from Facebook. Now, what are we doing? We're sharing stuff from national. We're not creating the content, and it wasn't endorsing any specific candidate. But anyway, finally, a long story short, what I had to end up doing with the IRS is spending a little extra money because the filing fee for a 501c4 is a little more than a 501c3 of $200. So we had to drum up an extra like $350 if I remember correctly, refile the 501c4 form, and then they basically rubber stamped it and said that's great. The differences are if you're a 501c3, you're allowed to do maybe up to like 10% of your activity is political. Your other 90% is primarily to be educational and or other informative and benefit to your community. A 501c4, you can be much more politically active without getting scolded by the IRS. The difference from our donors' perspective is as a 501c3, you can file that as a tax deduction. As a 501c4, in very rare cases, you can file your donations to a 501c4 and receive a tax deduction on it. There are some that can, but most people cannot. MPP, now I got to say one thing from I've had a discussion with Karen O'Keefe from MPP, one of their representatives, a few weeks ago, because we were hoping to invite her in with us to an event that we were scheduling in January. A little more on that in a minute. And they actually declined participation in that event because they are, although their organization as a whole is looking very much like National Normal to end prohibition, their focus in South Carolina is strictly medical marijuana and moving forward the Compassionate Care Act of medical marijuana in South Carolina. And so with that, like many of the medical advocates here in South Carolina, they do not want to be associated with normal because the legislators view normal as being nothing more than advocates for full legalization. And we can't deny it. It's in our mission statement that we're looking to end prohibition and be able to create safe access to adult consumers. So yeah, and I'm not going to beat around the bush with legislators about it. That is our goal. Thank you for being proud to be a member. Appreciate that. I happened to catch that comment quick, but well, yes, and we do support their less than perfect bill, but it's a game of baby steps, and it has been throughout the nation. We're not new to this. What we are trying to be new to is moving forward decrim. I've been watching them move it forward in Pennsylvania and Ohio for the past couple of years, and they've been doing it through the ballot initiative process, through the voter-initiated ballot initiative process. And that's why, if y'all got video on, you'll see I've been trying to get these local initiative guides out all over the place and get people in these different communities to want to collect signatures. And we need more than just one, I'm sorry to say, because it takes a big effort to collect some of these signatures. Folly Beach, I don't need a whole lot. It's just to find the people. But City of Charleston, I do need over 15,000 signatures. And I can't get them by myself. And we've just never really gotten good at getting out there to collect them. That's why I'm hoping the direction with City Council is the better option. Anyway, there are elections coming up. I've spent a lot of the past day, today, and a little bit yesterday, tracking down their emails as best I can, reaching out to as many of them with a form letter that I kind of created saying that we're seeking out local candidates that may, if elected, be interested in sponsoring, co-sponsoring, or supporting a cannabis decriminalization ordinance in their community. If you are that candidate, we would like to invite you to discuss your position by participating in our Zoom conversation on Wednesday, the 20th, because then we were scheduling folks for. So there's a little bit more to it, but not really much after that. And I have gotten some responses back I was going to say, I think I have at least one that wants to be on a call, possibly a second. Another one that wants me to give him a call and talk to him about it a little bit more. And another one, let me look at this one here. They'll actually be out of the country on the 20th. They'd be happy to Zoom at a later date. So that would be that 27th date. And that they want to look into the idea and float the idea with other council members before going on record. So a little political speak, but yeah, that's pretty accurate. So I'm getting some responses from different areas. I'm saying I'm all over the state, more based on population of their city than where they're located, because I don't always even know. But we'll see where it takes us. And that's the other side of it. I'm going to ask my guest tonight. Let me turn this window that's in my way. If you are in another county or even in my county here, Charleston, reach out to your candidates. Let me go and find this real quick if I can. And then I'll show you where I go to find this stuff. Okay, I'm going to get this share screen on and I'll kind of show you where I've been going to find these candidates in these different communities. And there's actually a lot more. Oh, share. There it is. And oh. All right, let me see if I need to go back here a little bit. If you go to scvotes.gov, scvotes.gov, and you go to elections, and you go to 2021 elections, and there's this big massive list, and it's just mind-boggling. So, where did I go? Let's see if I can find this. Okay, I forget how I got there. Because I keep taking it from this other link here. I'm going to share the link with you because that's the easier way to find it. And get the chat window here. Uh-oh, I lost chat. There you go. And what you'll do when you get to this window, which is again info.scvotes.sc.gov/eng/candidate/select election. So I don't know where I found that, under candidate tracking apparently. I'll have to go back and find it. Anyway, I have to click onto elections, local elections, click onto the year, hit the search button for that, and you will get the nice drop-down menu of all of the local elections that are on the calendar for this year. Last one of the year is here in Greenwood County, a special election on the 28th of December. There's another one in December in the town of Lada. There's a couple of more here at the end of November, but you'll see a lot of them November 2nd. So you've got like the town of Monk's Corner, you've got Who else did, I wrote the Monk's Corner because they have a general election wherever we're looking for general elections. And I went mostly by size. We've got Charleston general election, Mount Pleasant general election. There's Columbia general elections, Aiken. I wrote to their candidates. But what you do is when you get to one of these, I tend to pop open into a new window. And you can then select from the drop-down menu who you're looking for. If there's a mayoral race, there might be a mayor's section in there. I'm looking for city council members. Some of them I did even send to mayors. And then just hit search. And this is going to give me the 9 candidates that are running here for city council in Charleston County, right in the city of Charleston, what district they're running for, and then their contact info or a link to. Again, I'll open that to a new window and you'll see what it doesn't give me. It gives me an address, but it doesn't give me an email. There is this statement of intent click document. So we can open those up and we can find the document. They're a little bit different in each municipality, but many times you can still get in there and, read the email address off and type it in. There were a few of these I found in a couple of towns or whatever where the scanning was so bad or the handwriting was so light that it just did not scan and I couldn't read their email address to save me any way, shape, or form. I did not write to every community that was on that list. Let me go back here a little bit. Because there is a lot of them. There's a lot of elections. And I mean, as you scroll down, you will see that somewhere down here, the 11-2 elections end. Some of them have passed already or are coming up in actually a couple of weeks. You've got Allendale referendum on the 26th of the month. Oh, geez, I didn't realize I was looking for Rock Hill. They're actually later this week. I might have to blast. So, again, with their election on the 19th, that's the day before our next call. I really don't see them wanting to be on the call with us at that point here. And Rock Hill be a tough one. I emailed the Greenville candidates. I'm not sure if I'll hear back from any up there. But you can hope. You can only hope. But anyway, if you're looking to find the candidates and who's in what election in the local municipalities, I don't know if I'm just a little dumb or what, but it took me a little while to figure out how to go find these. And again, only because I had emailed someone at the elections board here in Charleston going, hey, I can't find this information. So they sent me a link, and that's this is a first link. So under candidate tracking, I'm going to go back to the home page here and see if I can find where that candidates. Candidate tracking system. There we go, folks. Phew, I found how to get there from the front page. So from scvotes.gov, go to candidate dropdown, candidate tracking system, local elections, the year. And then you can find out all those elections that are set up for now or coming up. Like I say, there's a number of them. I did a bunch of emails today. I'm hoping in the next 24 hours to get some other responses. I may send out a few more tomorrow on some of this other larger communities that I have on my list of top 20 by size in the state. Not everybody's having elections. I don't think I saw city council, town council up in North Charleston, or I just missed it. But any questions at this point about decriminalization versus legalization and or decriminalizing through city council ordinance? Any questions on that? Let me turn my share off so I can kind of view you all again. I'm going to kind of go through here and again, look a little bit at some of the comments as well. a little bit of mention on sheriffs and SLED here, and that, yeah, that's definitely going to be an uphill battle. There was some report recently about some, I guess I want to say, inappropriate behavior by SLED and possibly Mark Keel, and the headline said that Keel may step down. Mark Keel drives a lot of the anti-marijuana rhetoric in the state. Yeah, they've been at it again just this past week with urging the attorney general to basically outlaw D8 with some really twisted Delta 8 THC with some twisted interpretation of the law. But that's what they do. They don't necessarily want to go by the letter of the law. They want to go by whatever their twisted interpretation of the law is, quite often. And so, yeah, it's a long road with sheriffs and or SLED. And again, that might be a consideration that some of these, excuse me, the city councils may have. I watched a decrim in a town that was near where I lived in Pennsylvania. It was Allentown, Pennsylvania. Some of you may have heard it through a Billy Joel song. They decriminalized possession, I think, before I actually moved to South Carolina. I lived about 15, 20 minutes or whatever, maybe 20, 30 minutes from the city limits of Allentown. So yeah, it didn't affect me in any way at that point, but at least for the first year, they really had a what I guess we'd call when push comes to shove situation with Allentown police force, because the police said, screw your ordinance, we're just going to charge everybody under the state law. And, so they ignored the want of the people. And I think it took them at least a year to kind of get that law enforcement department to, abide by the ordinance. So, and we've seen that happen not only in Allentown, Pennsylvania, but in other locations as well. And I have absolutely no doubt that if we do get a town or a city to decriminalize in South Carolina, that law enforcement in that community will probably push back initially. Charleston may be a little different because, again, they de-emphasized simple possession arrest almost 2 years ago now. And I think that number's dropped. Like I said, I think the last numbers I saw from 2020 were about 111. This is a tourist community. We've got people coming in from all over the world, let alone all over the country. And many of them are bringing along their cannabis with them, legal or not, whether, they're vape cartridges or something. And I hate to think that people on their vacation are getting locked up in Charleston, in our county prisons, just because they had some cannabis with them, but I wouldn't doubt that it happens. I don't have any definitive evidence on that, but I wouldn't doubt that it happens. If you have any definitive evidence, if you have a good story connection, let me know. I'd be really happy to share that. Let me kind of finish where I was here, looking at some of this. Josh, Shane Bush here mentions he thinks one of the biggest issues is, I'm assuming, law enforcement replacing the money that they make by locking people up for cannabis. And it's not just locking people up for cannabis, it is civil asset forfeiture. There's a lot in locking people up because, of course, when they lock people up, then the money comes in from the taxpayer to pay for having them locked up in these for-profit prisons. And actually for the counties, what a lot of it is, it costs more to lock them up in the state prison. So these county prisons make money by charging less to keep them in their local prisons. And I guess the county and local prisons, and they charge less per bed, and of course they give them less amenities and things of that nature as well. I saw a report, I want to say 60 Minutes on this a couple of years back. But there's a lot of that going on, right? Profiting, because who pays for it? It's not necessarily the prisoner, it's the taxpayer. And although I do believe, and I could be wrong, I've never been to prison myself, but I have heard that they charge you room and board. You pay for being in prison. So yes, thank you for that. That is one of the things I think is an issue with law enforcement, is they want they're worried about where the money's going to go. And be quite honest with you, y'all, if you all remember the South Carolina Compassionate Care Act a few years ago, before this last rewrite, included like a 50% of all taxes generated through the medical marijuana system would be allocated to SLED and the 46 county sheriff's offices. And we believed, a lot of us believed it was a bribe and or a blackmail payment, and it still didn't work. SLED still didn't buy into legalizing medical marijuana here in the state. So thankfully, Tom Davis took that out of there, took that off the table. Although we do know that he took the smoking and the sale of flower off out of the bill to appease SLED and law enforcement. Although he knows, and he stated it publicly, he knows that there's a lot of patients, especially PTSD sufferers, depending on how you phrase it. I'm believing the new phrases without the D as far as a PT. It's not as a disorder. I don't know. PTS, they're calling it. But anyway, efficacy by most PTS sufferers are claiming that the efficacy is much better. They get much better effect from smoking than they do from vaping and or edibles and or any other option. That smoking is the most effective for them. I would have to probably agree with them on that from my experience, that I haven't done a whole lot with concentrate and that kind of stuff, but I don't like it as much. I don't like the effect. It's just not, it doesn't seem like you're getting the whole effect. Anyway, that's a little bit of a sidetrack, as you know I tend to do. Where are we at here, folks? We are at 7:45, so we've got a pretty good conversation going, I think, on decrim at the municipal level. I'm not sure who all we had visiting. We had a gentleman on kind of visiting a bit, then I didn't see his name, but looked like he might have been a candidate, just sort of joining the conversation and learning a little bit tonight. And that was nice. So I will kind of work on that for the next couple of days, and I will get a few more participants. I'm pretty sure. Now I had a writing candidate from Surfside Beach contact me. I didn't see his name on the candidate list, so I'm a little concerned about that. But reached out saying that he was running as a write-in candidate. So whether I'd see the name on these lists or not as a writing candidate, I don't know. But he mentioned some interest in coming on board. I believe I had somebody from Bluffton that may be interested in coming in and talking about us for a little bit with some of that. And a couple of others that, like I say, haven't been definite, but I will work on that and see what we can get together here in the next week. So that next week's conversation, hopefully we'll have some candidates on here and folks from those communities can learn their position. I mean, I very well may have an anti-candidate and say, I came on to talk about my position, and my position is as a candidate, no way would I ever propose a decrim ordinance. So that's a possibility. We'll gotta see what happens. And some of you may know or may not know, I have a local Facebook page for my community here, and I also have in the title of it, besides happenings and events and community love and politics. And I get I like to try and let everybody's opinion be heard, as long as they're not attacking and being attacking, basically, and being abusive, kind of thing. Whether I agree with their opinions or not, I may not, I may. But yeah, I know there's been some, especially when they're talking the vaccines or the masks or things like that. And some of that chat's come up on our site, and some of the members don't like it. And I'm like, actually, there was a recent one where they were talking about using the same voter initiative process with collecting the signatures to stop the mask mandates or something like that. So, it's all what it's all about is if you can educate people on the process and you get enough of them that agree with you and sign your petitions and get the ordinance on there, well, that's how it works. A lot of people don't like when I talk about marijuana on these forums, and then, if these other groups, partially why I started my group, because they would censor me on the other groups and boot me off when I would talk marijuana politics. So anyway, we do have Andrea. I'm going to just use your last name, Robinson, if I may. Baharano, I'm going to try it, Robinson. And she is a state level for 2022, state level candidate for 2022. Thank you. Yeah, my pronunciation is not always great. So, so thank you for being here with us. We will keep an eye on your candidacy as we move forward. As I've told some of our listeners in the past couple of weeks, I don't expect a lot of our legal or our candidate talks for state level to really kind of start kicking up until February, March, Aprilish of next year, as we start kind of ramping up towards the primaries. And again, I haven't checked lately if they've selected a primary date yet, but the primary dates are generally early June with runoff dates then end of June, kind of thing. So yes, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to you participating with us here on the Cannabis Conversation over the next couple of months, and we'll kind of fill us in on your campaign, and we'll keep an eye on it. Otherwise, as far as our chat tonight, wish me luck on getting a couple more candidates at these municipal level on board, and we'll hopefully talk to them next week. And yeah, I'm looking really forward to like January, February, March, and getting some of the yes, if you can help me in the upstate, reaching out to some folks up there, that'd be great. I'm going to copy that so I don't forget it. Let me grab that private message and drop that here so I don't lose it. And bear with me while I talk to myself, folks. Okay, thank you. I will touch base with you, Andrea, on this, and I'll see if we can, like I said, get a couple more of these local candidates on board with us this week. That'd be great. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up for the night. I see we're running close to 10 of, actually 9 of 8. So thank you again for joining me for the conversation tonight. We will be back here next week twice. We're going to be here on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for our monthly, the third Tuesday of the month membership meeting, our public meeting, where we will briefly go over state level, federal level, and local chapter business. And then next Wednesday at 7 p.m. for the Cannabis Conversation, where again, we will be talking with local municipal candidates that are running for office and will be and up for election on November 2nd. Otherwise, reach out to me through our website, scnormal.org. Go to the contact page. You can message me through there. Also follow us on Facebook. We're a little more active there. We're also on Instagram and on Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel in case you do miss our kind of cannabis conversations or meetings. You can watch the recording on YouTube. That's it for tonight. Again, Scott Weldon with South Carolina Normal. I thank you all for joining me, and we'll see you here again next Tuesday and Wednesday at 7 p.m.